Welcome to JWL Sports, where we review all the best sports take from around the country. Now, you're probably wondering, but why should I watch it here and not somewhere else? Because over here, we actually care about what you have to say. We actually care about your comments. Over there, they just don't. They say that all the time. They don't read them. They don't pay attention. But here, we actually do. So if you think what I'm saying is crazy, let me know. If you think what I'm saying is awesome, then also please definitely let me know. But either way, let's get into some discussions, let's get into some fights, and ultimately, let's just have some fun. And if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. It really, really helps with visibility. And also, please subscribe. I'm trying to build a community here. We're well on our way. We're having a lot of fun already, and I really think we can build something special. I mean, it's all free to you, and it means everything to me. So I'm so grateful for all the subscriptions and all the thumbs up I get because they really, really help. So without further ado, let's get to it. Right now, we're with Colin Cowherd. He's going to be talking about the 49ers versus the Ravens and all of that unfolding. I want to say I'm really excited for today. I'm going to be posting a lot of clips today. This is going to be the first of many, so definitely please check out the other videos. I typically try to just, post them all at the same time. So this is going to be a really fun-filled day. So yeah, let's just get into it.
Team and the most disrespected quarterback in the National Football League. That's what last night was about. And for the love of God, stop showing me stats. I have eyes. I watch the games. Lamar Jackson was the best player on the field, on a field with 10 Hall of Famers, and it wasn't particularly close. Stop with the Tua, Dak, Brock Purdy nonsense. Baltimore's been ravaged by injuries. What are they on their 19th running back? They lost their Pro Bowl tight end, left tackle plays, doesn't play.
So before I go, this is also what I keep emphasizing, that you have players that are overcomers, and that to truly be elite, you can be great, but to truly be elite, next level, you have to overcome the adversity. These are things that, quarterbacks like Dak have not done. Tua has not done. I mean, Tua has overcome some health adversity, but that's, kind of something different. That Dak hasn't done. That, a lot of these other quarterbacks that we kind of crown as being great, Brock Purdy has not done. When you watch last night's game, you can see, don't give me the stats, because I agree. I don't, this is not going to be a stat channel where I'm going to be like, so-and-so has 27 touchdowns and this person has 23 touchdowns. Like, I don't get involved in that, honestly. But when you watch last night's game, you can clearly see that for the 49ers, the offense ran through Christian McCaffrey. I mean, I know I'm not going to say that I was just not going to mention stats, but when they did show the stats, he had I was at halftime 100 yards from scrimmage, and the rest of the team had 140. I mean, it's just all Christian McCaffrey. It's get the ball to Christian McCaffrey and see what he can do. Get him the ball, see what he can do. Get him the ball, see what he can do. Purdy has not shown, and no fault to his own, he has a great team and a great coach. He has not proven that he could really carry a team, overcome that adversity. So that's why people doubt him, and understandably so, honestly. You have to prove that you can truly do something and do it consistently to have that skill set. They don't just give it to anyone. And so that's always been the issue with Brock Purdy. Again, I think Brock Purdy is a good quarterback. I'd be more than happy to have him. I think you can win a Super Bowl with him. And the narrative that you have to have a good team around you for you to win for Brock Purdy, that's majority of quarterbacks. I mean, honestly, football is like the ultimate team sport, which you've heard a million times. But look at Patrick Mahomes. Without, a Travis Kelce who's truly in his prime and is, Travis Kelce's older. He's banged up. The Chiefs are suffering. Patrick Mahomes is suffering without elite wide receivers, without a Tyreek Hill, without, some true weapons. Patrick Mahomes can only be so good, right? He can make amazing throws. He can escape and do so much. But if he doesn't have players around him that can, give him a good pocket, that can make the plays when they need, don't drop the ball, Patrick Mahomes can't win, right? That's how it works. So you need to have a good team no matter who you are, whether you're considered to be one of the best players in the NFL right now, or you're considered to be a pretty good player who has some good players around you. But that is what kind of makes Lamar Jackson so special right now. And the benefit of these more mobile quarterbacks is that they have the chance to really put the team on their back and lead them to victory. Now, I don't think it's sustainable for an entire season. I mean, you can maybe get by for a season, but it's not sustainable in the longevity, right? These guys get beat up, they get hurt. That's why Lamar Jackson was roughed up for so many seasons. Cam Newton's career, was so short, was just shorter relative to what it could have been because he got beat up, and that's kind of the fear with Josh Allen, is that he's asked to be Superman every single game, that it's just going to wear him down. And so that is the fear with Lamar Jackson, and that was the contention with his contract, was the fact that he gets so beat up, and it's like, well, we don't want to give you, all this guaranteed money for a long term because we have no idea if you're even going to be able to make it to the playoffs, because he hasn't really proven he was able to do that just yet. But when you watch that game, the Ravens rely on Lamar Jackson. He is their MVP. When you watch the 49ers game, not so much. But watching Lamar he just jumps off the screen. He's absolutely electric. So you have to just be a true hater to not like Lamar. But in terms of the disrespect, I don't know if Lamar is getting so disrespected or undervalued. I mean, he was one of the only, I always forget, he was either the only unanimous MVP or one of the only other unanimous MVPs. That's a huge deal. He did sign a massive contract in the offseason. That's a big deal. And now he's leading the MVP race right now. So he's not necessarily being disrespected. He's just not talked about as much. And this is what I've been talking about in the comments to a few people, is because he doesn't do endorsements. He's an all business kind of guy. And he's in Baltimore, which doesn't have this, this fan base or this popularity in the media that these other teams do, like the Eagles, like the Cowboys, like the Chiefs right now, obviously. They don't have that same energy. So when you're not doing the commercials, and you don't have a team that is just kind of, has this massive fan base from, across the country that's, really showing a lot of visibility, you're going to kind of pay a reputational cost, especially if you're not winning Super Bowls. It's one thing if you were all business, but you were consistently winning. He was in the AFC Championship year after year, right? He was really like making these moves. Then you could say, okay, well, he's winning. So, why are people not talking about him? But that hasn't really been his case. He hasn't really won any true big games in the playoffs. He's not doing the commercials, so he's not a household name, right? I do the mom test. My mom doesn't know who Lamar Jackson is. It's not because she's biased. It's not because she's just, always overlooking Lamar. It's because she doesn't see him in the commercials. She doesn't see him in the commercials. She watches the playoffs with us and, with me and my dad and family and stuff. And she doesn't know who Lamar Jackson is because she's never really seen him play. She hasn't really seen him make moves in the playoffs. She hasn't seen him in the commercials, as I said. She doesn't see him on the talk shows. She's not, he's not dating Taylor Swift or this or that. So that all matters. I mean, I know it's like these are kind of silly connections to make, but it really matters because it's all narrative building. And who builds these narratives? Ultimately, the media, and these days, just whatever people are talking about online. So I think that's why Lamar doesn't get as much recognition and fame as he has right now. I don't think it's necessary because of his play. I don't think it's because of necessarily his attitude, unless you want to say that his attitude is leading towards him to not getting commercials because he doesn't want them, because he turns them down. But he's an all business guy, which I really respect and I really, really like. So let's continue.
Doesn't matter. Rookie receiver, multiple drops, doesn't matter. If you were a scout and were sent to this game and they said, give me a take on the two quarterbacks, your take would be on Brock Purdy, kind of a guy, could be a backup. And your take on Lamar Jackson would be,
that's tough.
Holy God, I've never seen a player like that.
He's not
the
a backup
dude runs,
quarterback.
Looks like half speed against the Niners. Half speed. Thanksgiving football backyard with Cousins. Half speed. He runs whenever he wants.
He looks effortless.
Whenever he wants. Home, road, good weather, bad weather. Against the 49ers defense. There's nothing like him on the planet. I don't need to see passer rating. He wins 80% of his games, and he wins big games. People in Miami freaking out. Miami hasn't won a playoff game since 2000. Ooh, we won a home game over Dallas. Lamar Jackson wins games like this every Sunday, home or away.
Well, that doesn't really make sense because Lamar Jackson has not really won any big games in the playoffs. So, I mean, I don't really get that argument. I do agree that Lamar Jackson, he just plays so effortlessly. I mean, he really does. And I was watching this game with my father to kind of go off what I was saying before. My dad barely even knows who Lamar Jackson is. And my dad watches every single, he watches the playoff games with me. He watches, he's an Eagles fan, so he obviously watches the Eagles games. He doesn't watch all of the games, like I do. But he knows enough. He knows enough of the big players, right? He knows the Joe Burrows. He knows Josh Allen. He knows, obviously Dak Prescott and stuff like that. But he doesn't really know Lamar because Lamar hasn't made enough noise for the average casual watcher, who's not a big fan of the sport. Because you got to make moves in the playoffs, right? That's when you have all the extra eyes on you. Is when you have the playoff games and stuff like that. I think that's honestly the biggest thing that hurts Lamar right now. But he is so effortless. I wouldn't say Brock Purdy. We're going to talk about Brock Purdy in another video. I wouldn't say that Brock Purdy looked like a backup quarterback. Did he play terrible? Yes, absolutely. You can't dispute that. So I guess if you only saw that game yesterday and you never saw any other tape, yes, you would say Brock Purdy looked awful. He should never play another game in the NFL. And Lamar looked unbelievable. But I don't, you can't just say that he's, a backup quarterback. I feel like that's a little too harsh because we can pull up some tape of Lamar Jackson completely failing and playing terribly that you could say, it looks like he's doing backyard football. He doesn't know how to play. He doesn't know how to read offenses. So I think that's kind of like a irresponsible statement personally.
Hey, he's 20-1 in his career against the NFC because if you don't see him regularly, you don't know how to contain him. You don't know what to do with him. You've never seen any player like him. And all it is disrespect and doubt. Tua and Lamar Jackson, same breath, stop it. Purdy, Lamar Jackson, same breath. It's incredible. And then you add a really good coach and a really physical culture, and what you have is a team that can go into San Francisco and push, despite referees getting in the way, push the 49ers all over the field. The Ravens did to the Niners what the Niners do to everybody else. They embarrassed them. They pushed them around. They had all the answers. The Niners were left with all the questions. They poked you in the ribs. They lowered your self-esteem. And you come out of a game with the Niners and think, what are we? And now the Niners this morning wake up due to Lamar Jackson and ask themselves, what are we? Ooh, we beat Dallas at home. Ooh, we can bully bad teams. But against a good Browns defense on the road, loss. Against a physical Ravens team at home.
But I would say this, though, and I'm going to talk about this more. The 49ers have bullied teams that obviously can be beaten. They beat the biggest lore of the 49ers, of them being this unstoppable team and this unstoppable force, is one, on paper, right? They have a great team on paper, without a doubt. Two, they put up great tape. But three, and this is the biggest point to me, and this is what I was saying last week, is that the 49ers, the reason why we saw them as this elite, deadly team, the most likely team to win the Super Bowl, is because they beat the teams that they were supposed to beat, which obviously, right? Like that's the teams that you're supposed to beat. And then they beat them teams, mainly specifically the Eagles and the Cowboys, and they really beat them good. And now everyone was like, oh my God, well, the Cowboys are a great team and the Eagles are a great team. So the 49ers are like next level elite, and they embarrassed those two teams. But the Eagles and the Cowboys have consistently proven that they can get beat, that they can get got. So if that's what's propping up the 49ers so high, that's a house of cards. And I said this last week. I said the 49ers have not faced a true hard contender that is playing real well and that is firing at all cylinders like the Ravens. So let's see what happens when that happens. And look what happened. They ran into a brick wall and couldn't even do anything. I mean, they were embarrassed. They did look terrible. And so, again, that's more about the 49ers than that says about the Ravens, honestly, yesterday's game, because I think the Ravens have kind of more consistently shown that they are a great team and that they were not overinflated. Because I don't even want to overinflate the Ravens after a big win. The Ravens played unbelievable and did unbelievable, but at the same time, I never want to be a prisoner of the moment and just jump on the hype and say, oh my God, the Ravens are going to win. Let's go. I mean, if the 49ers played the Ravens next week and the script was completely flipped, that wouldn't shock me either. So, yeah.
And Lamar Jackson outplayed and bullied. I mean, last night is what a most valuable player looks like. You ever watch a game and think Tua is the best athlete on the field, or Dak, or Brock Purdy?
No.
Last night on a game with 7, 8 Hall of Fame level talents. That's just on the Niners. He was easily the best player on the field. It was high school and JV, running, is it half speed? Getting whatever he wants, finding crevices where there are none. That's what a most valuable player looks like. Not stats, not a coach, not because the weapons. This is a team with a rookie wide receiver who half the time can't catch. Ronnie Stanley, left tackle, sometimes plays. Pro Bowl tight end gone for the year. On a third running back against the best roster in the league and annihilates them, humiliates them, and leaves the Niners asking the question that Niner opponents do. What are we? Here's John Harbaugh after.
I thought Lamar had an MVP performance.
Well, of course he had an MVP performance. Yeah, no, I mean, I don't really disagree with anything Colin said there. I think we got a perfect representation last night of who Lamar is, and I think we got a perfect representation of what the questions around Brock Purdy is. I'm not going to just bury Purdy and say, see, I told you he was a clown, he can't do anything, because that's not true either, right? So that's why calling him a backup is just not fair. But has Brock Purdy's stock been overinflated? Absolutely. Has Lamar Jackson's stock been undervalued? Absolutely. So I think yesterday just really, really highlighted that. But, you know, this is what someone, you know, I feel like Colin normally would say, and I don't know why he's not saying about Lamar, because right now, Lamar Jackson and the Ravens, for that matter, have been amazing during the playoff or during the regular season, consistently, really. But they don't have playoff success. Lamar Jackson does not have true playoff success. It's indisputable, right? It's just a fact. So that's what it's all about, though, right? He has to do this in the playoffs. He has to win this season. If the Ravens don't make it to the AFC Championship and Lamar doesn't ball out, well, then you have to say the same things that you've said about Dak Prescott in previous years, or, you know, other QBs in previous years, because you have to show out in the playoffs, because it's easy to win games during the regular season relative to the playoffs, of course. So I just think, you know, we have to see this in the playoffs. I mean, I think if the Ravens don't make it to the AFC, and if they don't win the AFC Championship game, it'll be a disaster. And then you will have to say, well, what's going on here? You know, are the Ravens poorly managed? Did they just get bad luck with injuries, which seems to happen all the time? And then it's like, well, is this an issue of training? Do they practice too hard? Do they not have good strength and conditioning coach? You know, like, there's all these other questions, because this year it has to be Super Bowl or bust for the Ravens. I mean, it just has to be. They have to make it to the AFC Championship game. Not only that, but if they lose in the AFC Championship game, it has to be a heartbreaking loss where they ball out, but they just lose in the last minute, or, you know, whatever it may be. Because it's just, they're too good not to do that. And if we're saying that Lamar Jackson is the MVP, is elite, is a freak of nature, is one of one, well, then he has to do this in the playoffs. He has to carry the team to the playoffs. He's not a rookie. This isn't his first couple years. He's been in the league. He's been around. So it's time. But I would love to know your thoughts. Would love to hear what you guys have to say. So please let me know in the comments below. And please, if you like this video, again, give it a thumbs up. It really helps with visibility. And also, please subscribe. We are building an awesome community, and I would love to see you part of it. This has been so much fun so far, and I'm really excited to keep going. So again, please like and share and subscribe. It means everything to me, and it's all free to you. Thank you so much, and see you next time.